Great. How's everybody doing? I'll just start it off. I'm sure there's going to be a number of questions about field goal and some things, and I'll just start it off and kind of rattle through, hopefully giving you guys some answers on some of that stuff. Obviously, we have, as Shane has mentioned, really good faith in Spencer Shrader, and we continue to think that he's going to continue to improve and be a really good starting kicker for us. He has a really big leg. He certainly has the leg, and we expect him to make a kick from 60. He has a leg that he's been able to make from 70 before. Obviously, he was very open in his post-game press conference and interviews that he didn't handle the situation well. That's certainly something he's going to learn from and get better from. He ended up rushing the operation. The operation was much faster. He rushed himself, which led to him poorly mishitting the ball that went short and to the right in a situation where he has plenty of leg to be able to make that kick. He just needs to stay locked into his routine and be able to win the game for us in that situation. Obviously, there was a penalty, as Coach Payton brought up, and he, addressed kind of in his press conference that it was a penalty. It was correctly called. Certainly we are fortunate that it was called to give us another opportunity. It's great to see Spencer go out there, be able to reset, make the game-winning field goal from 45, which was a beautiful kick right down the middle, great height trajectory, end-over-end rotation. That kick would have been easily good from 60 plus. It was a beautiful kick, and it was great to obviously be able to celebrate and go through that situation. I know there's been a lot of talk about leveraging and what is leveraging. I think Coach Payton kind of hit on it a little bit when he addressed it in his press conference that they had a exotic or unique field goal block call. So a lot of times there are situations with end to half or end to game field goals. There's a checklist of stuff that your field goal unit has to be ready for. Are they going to bungee or stem to try to get you to jump off sides to move the field goal back more or get a 10-second runoff? Are they going to have a unique all-out max field goal block pressure? Are they going to have somebody where they have a jumper? Obviously, their special teams coordinator for the Broncos had showed multiple times last year and throughout his career that he has used a jumper. So in order to legally jump as the field goal block team, you have to be lined up stationary on the line of scrimmage. So we have certain indicators based on personnel or alignment. If we know somebody has a jumper, to be able to ID who that jumper is. That was a situation that they could use a jumper. Shout out to Dalton Tucker, who certainly saved us. He identified where the jumper was, called it out pre-snap. If you try to jump through a gap, it is legal to put your hands on the long snapper. It's legal to put your hands on top of another player, but you cannot, if you try to jump the A gap, you have to cleanly jump through there without putting your hands on the back of a teammate or a field goal player and then extend your elbow to then spring through that gap. So if you identify a jumper, which Dalton Tucker did, then instead of staying low like you normally would in a field goal situation, it would be wise to then step up to punch the jumper. So number one, they can't jump through the gap. And number two, if they do extend and land on your back, you then draw the penalty. Dalton Tucker identified the situation. He drew the penalty. It became much more obvious because he stood up into it, that then the jumper's on his back, standing up extended, trying to jump over the line of scrimmage, which helped make it obvious to make that penalty call and give us the chance to be able to win the game. So much props to Dalton Tucker. He did an unbelievable job to be able to give us that opportunity to make the re-kick. And obviously it's good to be able to clean up things as we sit here 2-0. Other questions, I'm sure we're going to talk about the new kickoff model. So looking at True Media statistic and analytics this morning, it looks like 88% of all kickoffs have been returned so far. Obviously, that's a lot higher number than maybe would even be projected. As we kind of look at where do things sit, like it's kind of hard to know looking at the new model without having a lot of stats or returns from last year to really have a baseline for what, is a good number or not for in the return game. So normally, it's early in the year. There's a lot that still needs to be cleaned up. There's a lot that, not a huge sample size of reps compared to offense and defense, but kickoff return wise, we're averaging 27.8 yards a return just for a baseline. Because what does that mean in the new model? That's fifth in the NFL. Certainly, I think we have a number of things that we need to clean up. In the Miami game, we had a really good return opportunity. Ashton Dulin made an excellent cutback. We end up one-on-one with the backside safety. Mika Fitzpatrick made a really good tackle. That's an opportunity where I think Gould or Dulin are going to make a guy miss, and we're going to pop it for an even bigger return. And we had a really good rep there. We started off the Broncos game kickoff return-wise not as clean. We had some miscommunication. We had some guys not, we had, pretty much every return to start the game. We had one guy who ended up missing a block and causing us a problem. In addition to, we had a not very smart penalty where we weren't lined up correctly on the kickoff return team. We made an adjustment at halftime. We only had one opportunity in the second half, but the guys executed really well on the adjustment that we made and ended up getting a return out to the 40-yard line. So happy with, some of the improvements and stuff that we made there. I think we certainly have room to grow. From a kickoff standpoint, our average return we've given up is 24.3 yards, which is 11th in the NFL. We as a whole, I think, need to kick the ball a little bit more consistently and with better placement and control. I think Spencer will continue to get better at that as we continue to evolve some of the things that we're doing. We had a penalty where he ended up kicking a ball short to start the second half, which is a critical error that we obviously can't have to give them the ball at the 40-yard line. And then as a whole, I think we've done a good job, except for the first rep in the Miami game, of building a wall and squeezing everything back. But we need to secure the tackle at the 30-yard line. There's too many times where we have arm tackles around the 30-yard line and they push the pile, or we don't secure and finish the tackle. And then that tackle that could have happened at the 30 ends up being driven to the 34, 35, 36. And we need to be able to secure and finish those tackles at and in front of the 30-yard line. Obviously, the opening kickoff rep that we had against Miami ended up popping out to the backside. Our backside contained player needed to keep working up the field. He's kind of a little bit of a deer in the headlights on that first rep, and we'll continue to kind of figure out our personnel to get guys in the best position to be successful so we can make sure we keep backside contained, don't have an issue with that. Punt return wise, we've had 4 reps. That 3 of them have been on a short field. It becomes a little bit difficult to be able to set up a return when you're, certainly getting short field opportunities. Certainly the field position with the new kickoff model has changed, and there's probably going to be a lot more of those midfield punts as we look at everything. But we got to get the ball vertical faster to be able to pick up some more return yards. And we had a silly penalty where we got called for a holding, which we just can't do. We got to play more disciplined football with 3 penalties in the last game. That's not who we are as a special teams unit. That's not who we are as a team, as we've been a team that's obviously played much more fundamentally sound with limiting penalties the last 2 years.
All right, we can do a few questions. Chap, go ahead.
Yeah, Brian, when you're doing your work pregame, whether it's in Tennessee or indoors, don't you tell Shane, okay, he's got it, Spencer will be good from this distance, or how do you do that? And yeah, he can kick from 70, but is that realistic in a game to say this is his distance?
Yeah, just saying that, hey, he's got the ability to make from 70 certainly does not mean that that's going to be his line in the game. That was not his line in this game. He made in pregame, so certainly, hey, we're going to at home because we can kick in our own indoor off the same turf, and obviously when we're at home, there's not conditions that we're worried about, so we can have a good idea like moving forward. We believe at home this is going to be our during the game field goal line that we feel comfortable and confident about, and this is our end of game line, and that line's not going to change a lot unless we, feel really strongly one way or the other about pregame. I think Spencer's handled his pregame routine, both in preseason and in these first 2 games, like really well. He looks like a veteran. He's been cool, calm, collected. He's hit the ball extremely well. Had a lot of confidence in him as that. He said, like in his post-game interview, that he made multiple 60-plus yard field goals in pregame. The furthest one that we attempted was from 63. I think he had 3 to 4 yards to spare on that. So that's where we ended up setting that end of game line for him. Was thinking, hey, he's going to be able to make a 65-yarder if we needed it to win the game.
Thank you.
Joel, go ahead.
Is there anything that are you guys like, obviously you're focused on your own kickoff return, but are you guys watching, other kick returns from around the league every week since it's new?
Yeah, so what's kind of unique a little bit about special teams is obviously there's not as many plays in the game, right? So we're looking at, hey, depending on the game, we're going to have 20 to 35 total special teams plays. So every single week, usually Tuesday night and maybe sometimes into Wednesday, I'll just pull up every single special teams rep from the entire NFL. So we'll watch and buzz through every rep of every game and then be able to find, okay, what happened in different situations on all phases, all 6 phases, including field goal block, find penalty clips. And then every Friday, anything that's unique or something that we need to teach off from somebody else, we'll show our guys on Fridays, any other situational or teaching things. And then obviously, if there's any great ideas out there, that's certainly coaching at every level, especially at this level, that people are going to certainly try to simulate things that are, or copycat things, or enhance things that are working across the league.
We can do a few more, Chap.
Brian, have you been around a situation where your punter's not punting? I mean, it's not a bad thing, but it's just an odd thing.
It's crazy. Yeah. No, I've not been in a situation, I think, what is this, year 16 or 17 of my coaching career. I don't think I've been in a 2 game stretch where we've never punted. And I think it's very rare that we've ever had a game when we haven't punted. Obviously, we did punt in the Miami game that ends up not counting for a punt due to the penalty. But, certainly it's unique. Uh, one of our keys to victory special teams wise this past week was to be able to control Mims, which we all know he's an all pro, returner, both from a kickoff return and punt return standpoint. Obviously, it's a lot easier to be able to control the returner when we don't have to punt in the game. So, our big thing for our guys now is, we haven't had game punt reps, especially with, that one unit. So we've got to make sure practice reps are like a game. So we're making the most of those opportunities without us getting some of those extra reps, but it's certainly unique.
James.
And to that point, I guess, how do you make it sort of like a game rep in practice? I mean, I hear it all the time, but obviously there's limits to what you can do. So what are you looking for, I guess, to let you know whether you're trending in the right direction on the punt coverage?
Yeah, so obviously when we have our look team go, which Joe Hastings coaches and does a great job doing extra meeting time and getting those guys ready to go. That's a game evaluation rep for those guys. So we need those guys to be able to, whether it's a rush or a hold up, try to simulate this as close to a game as possible. We can't do a ton of full coverage reps on the guy's legs during a game week. But when we do get a chance to do 2 different full cover reps, we got to make sure that we're communicating, we're fitting and working our lanes off of each other so we can try to get as much of a game rep as possible. Obviously, we repped a lot of our guys in preseason, which will help as well. But we just got to stay fresh with that as we work it in practice.
And then do we have to put the slash holder on Rigoberto's I don't know, nameplate, position change, or anything like that? Because again, we haven't seen much of it. I'm like, does the guy's leg work or whatever? But in all seriousness, how has he been? And how do you, I guess, keep a punter engaged when you don't know when the next opportunity is coming? I know it seems like such a finite opportunity, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just unique.
Really, game day is not different for Rigo, and he's a veteran, so it's not like, hey, we're dealing with somebody that's young that doesn't know how to handle the situation. He's still hitting a bunch of balls, right? His pregame routine's the exact same. He's warmed up, he's ready to go. His routine when the offense has the ball and they're not near the 50-yard line's the same. He's over in the net, he's warmed up, he's ready to go. So he's still hitting a full, his full normal number of punts and ready to go throughout the game, working the mental routine. Obviously, every time we have a third down, we're still going through what call we're going to make. So he's locked in and ready to go. We've just been fortunate to be able to convert or, obviously go for it on some of those 4th downs.